So, the Steam Summer Sale is on and you're looking for a nice, shiny, new roguelike to play. But with so many deals, which one do you choose? That's where I come in and tell you which games you should be prying open that dusty wallet for and the one or two that you should wait on. I scour the Steam metrics to determine which deals are the best and am making sure you know which games are at their lowest price ever. Anyway, let's get started. Hades. We should probably get this one out of the way since if you're familiar with my channel, you're well acquainted with the underworld. Hades is the dynamic action roguelike released in September of 2020. The self-described godlike roguelike definitely lived up to the title with 98% positive reviews out of 210,000. It is also one of the highest rated games on Steam ever, by the way. There are millions of possible combinations and includes something that most roguelikes lack, a meaningful and well-constructed story. The events of the Greek underworld slowly unfold as you perform more and more runs in the game and boasts a cast of characters you will not forget. Not to mention the amazing combat and boon system that will definitely leave you with the thought of one more run. Hades is definitely the gateway drug to more roguelikes for many players since it has probably made the biggest splash in the genre in recent years. Hades is currently 50% off at $12.49, and while this has been the normal sale price for a bit now, it does not go on sale often. Definitely pick this one up if you somehow haven't already. Domekeeper. Domekeeper is a relaxing space defense roguelike where you mine for minerals and goods underneath the surface while managing your dome's offensive and defensive capabilities. Think Terraria, but sometimes you gotta go home and fend off the shadow monsters. Tons of game modes and upgrade paths give the game a huge amount of replay value since it's impossible to experience everything it has in just a few runs. It even has some endless modes for those wanting to compete on their official leaderboards. It sits at 90% positive reviews out of 6,400 currently and is still receiving new updates regularly as of today. Domekeeper is now at its lowest price ever of $10.79, which is 40% off. I definitely recommend picking this one up if you haven't yet. Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is the definitive roguelike deck builder that blazed the trail for many more games like it. It has 4 different playable classes, but hundreds of different cards that can appear in runs as well as dozens of relics. Infinite deck possibilities and crazy relic combinations make this game a steal no matter what the price. There are also many community-driven mods that make the content available for this game damn near endless. To me, Slay the Spire is probably the best balanced single-player game I have ever played, and I usually lose most of my runs. The game has 97% positive reviews out of 113,000. This is also a great game to play on the go with your Steam Deck, by the way. Slay the Spire is currently at its normal sale price of $8.49, which is 66% off, but it is not on sale very often. If you're into turn-based or card-based games, this one is a must-have. Have a Nice Death. Have a Nice Death is a side-scrolling action roguelike where you play as Death himself, who is trying to gain some control over his rogue employees. Get it? You will use a large variety of weapons to tame your colleagues and get them back in line while upgrading your sides and the rocket launchers. You spend your currency between runs unlocking new weapons and upgrading your character while also having the option to turn up the difficulty using the breakdown system. Have a Nice Death is probably the closest thing to a Hollow Knight roguelike, but just don't expect anyone as cool as Zote to be in it. It currently has 85% positive reviews out of 7,000. Have a Nice Death is on sale for its lowest price ever since the 1.0 launch at $7.49, which is 30% off. If you're into side-scrolling action platformers like Hollow Knight or Dead Cells, I can definitely recommend this one. Risk of Rain 2. Risk of Rain 2 is the famous third-person shooter roguelike that reinvented replayability for the genre. The game boasts dozens of different upgrades in the run that are all stackable, leading to endless possibilities of combinations. There are currently 11 different classes in the game, all of which have different loadout possibilities. The game also uses an achievement system that helps you unlock new pieces of equipment and items that will keep you motivated to keep coming back. Risk of Rain 2 also has an enormous amount of surprises and secrets that you wouldn't expect. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that the game is co-op as well. You can play with up to 4 players at once, and the game performs seamlessly the entire time. Risk of Rain 2 is at an outstanding 96% positive reviews out of 160,000, and I can definitely see why. The current sale price puts it at only $12.49, which is 50% off, but keep in mind that you may want to buy the DLC as well, which will put the total cost at $19.34. DLC is never mandatory, so don't be afraid to buy only the base game if you're not certain. Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a 2D side-scrolling action roguelike that has some of the most amazing pixel art you will ever see. Seriously though, look at how smooth these animations are. Dozens of different weapons which can all have their own random attributes means every single run will be different. Dead Cells also has some of the best accessibility options I have ever seen in any game, allowing you to change almost any aspect of the game, including locking out certain weapons from appearing in a run. Dead Cells has been continuously supported by the developers since it released in 2018 by releasing both free and paid DLCs. I feel like I should warn you that this game definitely gets brutally difficult if you choose to climb the difficulties and ignore the accessibility options. It is currently sitting at 97% positive reviews out of 115,000. The base game is currently 50% off, which makes it $12.49, which is a total deal. However, if you want all of the DLC that the game has to offer as well, the grand total is going to be $32.95. But trust me when I say that it is all well worth it. I wanted to give a shout out to a few honorable mentions before we move on. Crab Champions is a third-person shooter roguelike, think Risk of Rain 2, but crabs, that is 20% off right now for its lowest price ever of $7.99. Moonlighter is a charming Zelda-esque action roguelike that is a total steal at only $2.99 or 85% off. Crypt of the Necrodancer, the rhythm roguelike, is a whopping 80% off and only $2.99 as well. I only have one small dishonorable mention, Darkest Dungeon, the first one that is, which is currently 70% off, but it has gone on sale for as much as 85% off in the past. $7.49 is still a great price for this iconic roguelike, so if you're in a rush to play it, don't feel bad for grabbing it. Otherwise, might as well wait for that juicy 85% discount. It might also be worth mentioning that Darkest Dungeon 2 is having its first sale since its release. It is currently 20% off to make it $31.99, which is still quite steep relative to other roguelikes, so I wouldn't blame you if you waited on it. Rogue Legacy 2. Rogue Legacy 2 is an amazing side-scrolling action roguelike with absolutely insane amounts of content. Honestly, I played this game for over 200 hours and still never unlocked all of the meta progression. This might be the bane of some completionists, but you can't argue with both the quality and the amount of content that this game delivers. With 15 different classes, 30 different weapons, 18 different spells, dozens of traits, relics, the list just keeps going. It has a 90% positive rating out of 12,000 reviews, and don't worry if you haven't played the first one, skipping right to the second is perfectly fine. Rogue Legacy 2 is at its lowest price ever of $16.24, which is 35% off. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. If you want more roguelike content, please consider subscribing. Also, if you like the look of my cat Grandpa, make sure you throw a like on this video as well. Anyway, appreciate you. See you next time. This time...